Welcome in to another edition of Home Field Advantage. Hope you're having a great week. I'm Will Highland, joined again 2 weeks in a row by Cam Chiesa. Unfortunately, Kyle Diesel couldn't join us for our annual NFL preview show, but we'll look forward to welcoming him back to talk some football later on. But for tonight, it's the eve of the perhaps, depending on who you ask, the greatest time of the year for sports. So we want to jump right into it. I hope everyone is as ready as Cam and I are for the start of the season. Cam, we had great opening week of college football, depending on who you're a fan of. And now we head into week one of the NFL, and it's suiting up to be another great season with a lot of great storylines. But before we get started, first of all, how are you? And second of all, are you have you recovered from the big Labor Day weekend of college football that was seemingly 5 days long?
Well, it's good to be with you. The good news is, folks, I got all my bad picks and bad momentum out of the way in week one of college football. My team struggled. The teams that I thought were going to come out strong were terrible. So now it's only onward and upward from here. That's what it's all about.
That is true. When you go low, you can't go much lower, I guess. It depend. I mean, I've had some pretty bad takes over the years. I really have. You know, last year, a year ago on this pod, I said Sam Darnold was going to be a train wreck. Um, and he played himself into another contract and a starting job essentially. So like I can point to so many times that I was wrong. So don't sweat it. It happens to the best of us. Oh, don't I actually I remember last year you said, or 2 years ago you said that Colorado was going to beat Oregon, and then Oregon beat them like
42 nothing, wasn't it?
42 to nothing or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah. A couple of my buddies still like to remind me of that analysis I had.
yeah.
So.
And speaking of college football analysis, you and I, we thought Texas and OSU was going to be a higher scoring game than it was. So I don't know where, I mean, I didn't see a lot of that game. I saw the third and fourth quarter. Um, Nobody could move the ball. Ohio State defense, Matty P had him ready to play. Ryan Day had him ready to play. What went wrong for Arch?
Well,
Everything?
well, I unfortunately had the displeasure of watching every minute of that football game, and it was a class destruction by Ohio State. Really took it to Texas on every level. And it really starts, much before, Arch had played a little bit previous season, had some starts against some weaker opponents, had some mop up duty. This was the first time, right, as we discussed, where he really was the main guy. They schemed for him, and it did not look good. And even before we get into how poor Arch played, let's remind ourselves it's one game. We thought about giving him the Heisman if he had a great game. Let's not put him at third string after one terrible game, right? This guy's still got a lot of ability. That Ohio State football team with Matt Patricia, Ryan Day, that might be the best roster in college football, just
Yep.
top to bottom. A really good defensive
Defending
unit.
champs. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, defending champs, everything going their way at Ohio, at home. Really just everything lined up for them beautifully. And Arch really had a hard time. He had a long day. Really, they didn't call. I mean, if you look at it, Coach Sarkisian really did not show much confidence in the game plan. A lot of runs, a lot of short passes, really afraid to open up the passing game. And frankly, when they did, Arch turned the football over.
He did.
Turned the
Yeah.
football over, and the Texas defense kept him in the game well, but they
Certainly.
really didn't take advantage of opportunities. And that's the game of football. I mean, you have to take advantage of opportunities, not turn the football over. And they
Right.
failed at both those.
And it's not, I mean, Michigan's gone into the horseshoe and won recently. I mean, there are teams that have gone in there and won since Day's been the coach. And it wasn't unheard of, like it wouldn't have been unheard of if
Right.
Texas had pulled that game out 17-14 per se, rather than losing 14-7. Some of those turnovers don't happen. Maybe they take advantage of some of those opportunities and it's 17-14. You know, it wouldn't have taken a lot to, as great as Ohio State played. it wouldn't have taken that much improvement for Texas to have won that game, and so
Right.
that's why I don't want to bury Manning yet, but obviously, but I think there is certainly some work that Texas is going to have to do, and thankfully, I think they have a couple non-conference opponents that they might be able to figure some things out against, but they're going to start to get into their SEC schedule, right? And
No, and there's no gimmies there.
yeah, there's
None.
no gimmies there. So that's something to watch for sure. The other thing we talked you good call on the LSU Clemson game being the game of the week. I do think that was the game of the week. So good call there. And then last but not least, the main other thing we talked about last week was Bill Belichick and the Tar Heels hosting the TCU Horned Frogs, and TCU on Monday night had their way with UNC. I mean, I think that was probably the biggest game in the history of UNC football, and that was pretty weak effort, I'd say.
Yeah, I got to shout out my friend Kyle, who's going to be watching this podcast. And when I was watching the game with him, I equated that game to when you're playing college football, not the new one like the kids play, the old one on the Xbox 360, and you got the sliders down, and you're playing FCS Southeast, and that's what TCU looked like against North Carolina. They completely, it was a complete do- domination. Doesn't give the respectful term what they did to Carolina. It was the biggest hyped game in Carolina football. Lawrence Taylor in the house, the GOAT, Michael Jordan. A lot of expectation, deservedly or so, as we talked about last week for this football program. And I don't think it's an overstatement to say that was the most disappointing and frankly the worst performing the worst performance I've ever seen by a Bill Belichick coach football team.
All right,
Just from
I like it.
execution,
Take.
just from how they looked. The quarterback, Gio Lopez, looked completely lost. The
Oh yeah,
tackling, the tackling of the Carolina defense,
no
and this is
tackling.
Belichick's bread and butter, right? We're not talking about, we had a lot of fun, Will, over the years, making fun of Bill's drafting of wide receivers and handling of contracts and his personality. Forget all that. This man's made a 50-year career out of coaching defense, and they couldn't tackle me and you in the backyard.
Yeah, it
They
was.
got destroyed.
They looked
Every
slow.
run was 6 yards before they got touched. It
They
was
looked
awful.
slow.
They looked
It,
slow, confused, and not interested.
it was wild. Like TCU is we talked about this last week. They're not Ohio State, they're not
Right.
Alabama, they're not Clemson, but they're also not like I don't know, Bowling Green. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they're no disrespect to Bowling Green or App State or anybody like
They're a
that.
Big
Like they
12
are a
title
serious
contender. Yeah,
they're
like
a serious program. They were in the national championship 3 years ago, 2 years ago, something like that.
right.
And they know about getting blown out. They got blown out by Georgia. I think everyone remembers that. Um, but like they're not a Mickey Mouse program. We said this last week, and so it was going to be a test. But you thought, okay, well maybe TC will win, and it will be like 31-21. Like TCU, better team, better roster, better recruiting.
Right.
Like, I was talking to a buddy of mine today. Like they have the infrastructure that Bill and UNC don't have yet. And so you thought, okay, well they might not win, but they'll at least like Bill will have them ready to go. I think that's what we both agreed. He did not have them ready to go. And to your
Not
point
in
about
any
being
capacity.
into your point about it being his worst loss, like I think there was some pretty bad losses his last couple of years with the Patriots. Like I'm thinking like that Saints game at home in like October of 23, where it was a complete dumpster fire. I'm thinking about a game against the 49ers, I want to say when Jimmy G came back to Foxborough in like I want to say 2020 and they got run out of the building. But if you're talking
Playoff
about
game against
Brady
the
era
Bills.
Patriots,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you're talking about Brady era Patriots, I would put it up there with maybe the Monday night famous game in Kansas City, another ESPN game in September on a Monday night, or maybe
Wow.
maybe maybe Well, it's the other one that comes to mind would be week one, 2003 against Buffalo after he cut Lawyer Malloy and they were
Yep.
31, he lost 31 to nothing. I mean, those are the only ones I can think of. Because at no point during the Brady era did I see a Belichick coach team get their pants pulled down, pardon the illustration, against a team that is good but not like amazing. Like they're not that's not the 1989, 49ers out there. Like they're not TCU's good, but I don't think they're going to contend for a national championship this year. Like, so,
Right.
like that was a little concerning if I'm a UNC fan who expected them to like be good this year. I don't think I think you got to give them a little bit of time. But yeah, that was we thought they were going to be a professional operation. They did not look like a
And
professional
again,
operation.
let's preface Will by saying, same with Arch. This is week one with 70 new players in a team that was 5-7 last year, as you and I both covered. Again, I'm not Belichick's lawyer and personal defender. I think a bigger issue at large here is that has anybody done more to destroy their legacy in a 2-year, 3-year period than Bill Belichick has?
Yeah, it's
It's
tough.
it's up there. I mean, the side of anything, somebody,
Criminal or
criminal
whatever. Yeah.
activity.
Yeah.
I really, it's very condemning for Bill with what we've seen again post Brady, life after Brady for him
Life
across
after
the board.
Brady for him has not been great.
It's been
Um,
about as bad as it can be
yeah, yeah,
on a off the field, on the field, really. And I talk to friends all the time about this. If he had stayed on TV, I think things were going the right way for him. I thought he was great on TV, and I really think he should have stayed on TV. Um,
yeah.
that really would have been the way to go.
He
And he
could have
got
done he could have done a podcast with like I don't know, pick somebody that he liked in the
well,
media.
you done it with Michael Lombardi and Matt Patricia. They had the coaches
Oh
podcast,
yeah, but I'm
which
saying maybe a bigger name like in media.
right. I
You know,
mean, he did some great work for NFL Network with
yeah,
the 100-year anniversary. It feels like it kind of feels like he's the last one to go home from the party. Like you don't know that you're done, except somebody doesn't tell you. That's how I feel like it. It's just not. He's not a young man anymore. You know, off the field stuff, just
yeah.
everything that we knew,
It's been a
everything that
little
Bill was
cringe.
known for.
It's been
Yeah,
a little
so
cringe. I
not good.
think and I feel the same way about like we don't have to get into it too much, but like because we both want to move on and talk about football.
Right.
But like I think with Bill, one of the issues is he somehow like after he retired, he realized he still wanted it. And honestly, Bray's doing a little bit of it too with being a part owner, being a broadcaster, etc. Like Belichick he kind of wants to be everything for everybody, and at some point you just have to be like, and I think that's your ego
It
growing.
is. It is.
Like you are a Hall of Fame, no doubt, surefire best coach still, even with the Mac Jones era, still the best coach in my eyes in the history of the NFL. And you're out here now. I mean, it's just it seemed like he was trying to be everything to everybody. Like he wanted to still be a coach, but he wanted to be in the media and have a public image. And so now, like Hulu was doing a documentary on UNC, and all this stuff is going on, and it's like, well, this just seems like a circus. But anyway,
It's so anti-Bill. So
it is
right.
weird. It is weird.
It's weird.
But
It's weird.
not a bad transition when we're talking about things that are going to be a circus. I think we can go into our actual NFL bread and butter here. Um, I think the NFC South, speaking of like that part of the country, Carolina, etc. I think the NFC South is the catalyst for the whole NFC. I think if the NFC South is a circus, meaning that nobody is good, and you have a team that's like 8-9 winning the division, then I think that bodes well for everyone else in the NFC, especially like a Green Bay or a Los Angeles Rams. But if the NFC South is, and I said this last year, but I believe it more this year, if they are bad, like if you've got two teams in there that are going to be vying for, speaking of Arch Manning, Arch Watch, like if you have like the Saints and the Panthers who are on like Tankathon, then I think that bodes really well for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because they could go 12-5 and be the 2 seed or something as opposed to the 4. So like I think if you're looking at a division, it's really the South. And then lastly, like I think the one catalyst in the whole conference, if you're gonna say, is Atlanta good? Because if Atlanta's good, then that throws a wrench into a bunch of people's playoff pictures. Because if Kirk Cousins is healthy and it is at least serviceable, or maybe they hand the baton off to Michael Penix
Well,
Jr.
they are starting. They're starting Penix.
Okay, so they've handed off the baton. So let's
Yeah.
say he has a year similar to what Daniels had last year on what I would believe to be a better roster probably than Washington had last year. Then, I think about Drake London and some of their other players, then suddenly like that throws a wrench because now you're looking at the 49ers aren't making the playoffs in that scenario. The Vikings might not make the playoffs in that scenario. You probably only have room for two teams from the East and the North if Atlanta's good. So that's what I say about the whole conference is it really comes down to what the South looks like. Because I think the rest of the divisions you can kind of pencil some teams in there that are going to be decent. But what do you make of that as far as my big NFC leadoff thought?
Well, it's a unique way to think about it because again, the win loss record for a team like Tampa Bay couldn't be very misleading. I think Tampa Bay is a solid team with the best quarterback in the division, and I think the division is really weak across the board. I am not an Atlanta fan. I was not a Penix guy coming out. I don't believe he's accurate enough to play at this level for a long, successful period. So I do believe that Tampa Bay can easily win 5 out of their 6 divisional games just by showing up and not being incompetent. Again, no guarantees with that division. Every divisional game you watch with that group is going to be an interesting battle. It's kind of like a car crash where you don't want to look away. It's not pretty, but it gets your attention.
Yeah,
So you know what I mean.
yeah.
Right, and a lot of the other divisions in the NFC, there to me the divisional favorites are more easy to see this year than previously, in my opinion. It's really going
Agreed.
to come down to that who's going to snag up those wild card spots and capitalize on some of those divisional games against the bottom half of their division. So that's really where I stand with that.
Yeah, I agree, and because and it's twofold for me with that. It's one is in the NFL. A rising tide lifts all boats is what you normally hear, but that's not the case in the NFL. If you have
No.
a last place team that's only 6-10, then or nowadays it would be 7-10 or whatever, then that means that the division winner's probably only 10-7 or 11-6 at best, and that's not good because that means that when you play a 30-year schedule almost in your division, you got to win those games. That's why the Patriots and the Chiefs have won their division so many years in a row, or the Patriots used to, you know what I mean? It's
Yes.
because those dynasties they were constantly hosting home playoff games because they constantly beat up in their division. And so the rising tides don't lift all boats in the NFL. They actually sink all boats. And then the other thing I'd say is like throughout the training camp and preseason, everybody's talking about all these teams, and I've mentioned this on the program when I've been by myself. People have been like, "Oh, well, this team looks really good. That team looks really good." It's like, and then I start to do the math. I'm like, "Well, who's not making the playoffs then?" Because if you're of the agreement that let's pick a team, um, there's some people who I've heard that think the Raiders are going to exceed expectations and threaten for a playoff spot.
Uh,
Well, There's three teams in that division that made the playoffs last year. You know,
So where are the wins coming from? That's how I look at
yeah,
that
where
too.
exactly where are those wins coming from? And similarly, like in a division like the East, I heard someone else, maybe they were listening to you a few years ago. They're like, "Oh, I think the Giants might not be bad." And I'm like, "Well, we have Jane Daniels, who people are talking about as a fringe MVP candidate. We have the defending Super Bowl champions, and then in Philadelphia, and then say what you want about Dallas, but like they're still talented players on that roster. I mean, there's one less talented player now that they dealt Micah Parsons, but like I'm just wondering where if people are paying attention to the fact that only 7 teams make the playoffs.
And what you define as overachieving is very subjective.
Right,
For me, for example, the New York Giants are a sleeper team to me to an extent. I'm not saying they're going to go 10-7, but to me, they could be more competitive, show big steps, have moments. They have Abdul Carter on the defensive line. People have to get really interested, have to really pay attention to what constitutes overachieving to them.
right,
Sometimes it could be just being competitive and being competent
right,
and developing the players. That's
right.
fine.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
another great example of what you just said is Chicago. Like
great example.
if Chicago is, I don't think they're going to be a playoff team, but
No.
if they look like they're pointing upward, then that should be all that their fans want to see, especially in a division where Detroit's best days are probably behind them, and
Yeah.
Minnesota has huge question marks about what their future is going to look like. I know they have a really talented roster, but they're kind of treading water here. I think with what they should expect, and then Green
Yeah.
Bay, I think is around. So like again, what do you expect the Bears to be in 2025? I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. So when people say like, "Oh, they could be a playoff team," it's like, "Well, who are they displacing?" Is my ultimate point in this is like, and we'll talk about it with the AFC in a little bit, but I think it's the theme for the whole league. But I think in the NFC specifically, the division with the highest variation will be the South. I,
Well, yeah, that's a fair opinion
yeah,
because you don't know what you're going to get. The Saints have me playing quarterback, and the Panthers have shown very little competence. So you're really talking about Atlanta and Tampa. But again, as I said previously, this division historically has always been, a 3-point spread type of game, a lot of turnovers, a lot of foolishness, a lot of poor play. So you just don't know what to expect. You don't know what to expect. You don't, particularly with the South. So
yeah, yeah, like I think Tampa Bay is capable of winning a playoff game, which let's see, I think
they just did it recently.
they beat a couple years ago they beat Philly, right?
Philly, it was a 3-6 game.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
2 years ago.
you're
And
right.
then last year they lost to
The Commanders,
yeah, I was gonna say they lost to the Commanders. Yep.
as the favorite, I
As the
believe.
favorite at home.
Because it
Yeah,
was the Commanders were a wild card team,
yep.
and yeah. So again, um, Will, I wanted to say to shift gears a little bit in the NFC. We haven't even mentioned the West. In,
Right.
in the West, to me, I think people are more sold on the West than they should be, in a sense of again, my feeling. I've talked to people, football fans. A lot of people are all over the Niners' huge comeback. And on this podcast, well, I've been a big proponent of the 49ers being a Super Bowl team, and they have, they find a way to win in spite of Purdy. Well, I'm here to tell our viewers now that that's not the case, in my opinion.
Right.
You have your best player, McCaffrey, who's 29 years old, of a couple of really bad injuries. You've lost Debo Samuel. You've lost a lot of people. Your roster's not the same as it was. Everybody's a little bit older. I don't think it's safe to say that they're going to be a divisional winner or even a playoff team this year.
No,
What
it's not a
changed?
safe assessment. It's
I
not.
think it's more safe to say they're not going to make the
I
playoffs.
think people will forget. again, this happens all the time in sports is people will I mean, you go with the brand, right? The brand is, oh, well, for the last half decade, they've been pretty good. And and it's like, well, did you remember they didn't make the playoffs last year? This happens you know, I'll just like briefly switch gears to another sport. In the NHL, and I'm glad Kyle's not here because he wouldn't like this. 3 years ago, the Devils were really good. The New Jersey Devils are like President's Trophy contending team, really good. And then they dipped down for a year and didn't make the playoffs. And then heading into the year after, everyone was like, "Hey, well, they're going to be back." It's like we don't know that. Now they ended up
What
having a
changed
good
is my question
season,
for all this.
but
Right. Yeah.
they got to the playoffs and they looked small and slow and whatever. But like but the same thing as with the 49ers. Like you can go with the brand. You can say, okay, well, Purdy's a winner. He's been to the Super Bowl. He's been to the conference title game. Like he's a leader of men. Great. Their
Great guy.
best
Love him.
offensive player is Christian McCaffrey, who has major injury question marks. Their second best offensive player from last year is not on the team anymore. He's in Washington, and like their defense again. As you pointed out, everyone's a year older. George Kittle really hasn't been the same guy for the last 2 years or so.
Where's the durability questions for this offense? I
Yeah,
mean, you have CMC, besides just CMC, Purdy's had his elbow issues. You
yep,
know, Kittle has had major
yep.
concerns. You're counting on Ricky Pearsall, who I love his story, but he's overall unproven as a number one, number two receiver for a playoff team. I
Absolutely.
just I don't see it. I
This
don't.
hap this happens with teams in the NFL, and I think people are falling into it a little bit with the Lions, who I maybe we'll get to when we talk
Oh,
about our seedings. But like
big time.
you like fall in love with like what you've seen before without realizing that on the ground, the reality is a lot different. And like the one caveat I would put on this is if you do come at a player like CMC or Saquon or Derrick Henry, you best not miss because I was on
Right.
the record saying last year that I thought the days of Saquon as a as a lead, number one running back in fantasy football were over. And then he had probably the best season in the history of the franchise from running back last year.
One of
It,
the best in recent history for running backs that I
right,
remember.
certainly going back to
Right.
maybe like
Derrick
I think
Henry,
about the
Adrian
LT
Peterson.
years or the Sean Alexander years or
Yeah,
Adrian Peterson or something. Like he
yeah.
had an insane year. And similarly, like I remember saying, well, Derrick Henry, I don't know, maybe he's older, slower, he's on a different team, and then he had a great year last year. So if you're going to come at one of these running backs, you best not miss. But I am a little skeptical about Christian McCaffrey's ability to stay on the field, um, especially considering he's unlike the other two guys I mentioned. He is a passing game threat as well, so he often finds himself more vulnerable in the open field. So yeah, I mean this is a good segue talking about the Niners because I think they're another one of those catalyst teams where if they're good and they make the playoffs, that means they're displacing somebody that made it last year, like Minnesota or
A
Seattle.
la Washington,
Oh
Minnesota,
yeah, no,
somebody
yeah,
like that.
Washington. Thank you.
Correct.
Yeah,
Right.
I was thinking Washington, but like Seattle is in Washington, but it's a different Washington.
Right.
Sorry,
I'm with
but
you. We
but
help
yeah,
each
they'd
other.
have to displace somebody. So like with that, like who are you? Okay, well let's get this that way. Who is like absolutely a bottom feeder? Are we in agreement that the Saints and the Panthers are going to be down there?
I think there's no question.
All right,
Those two to me don't expect to have any postseason games.
okay, I'm with you. I'm not expecting that. I would also put safely. Let me know if you agree. Arizona in that category.
Not to the level of those two,
Yes.
but they're not going to make the playoffs.
No. No.
Too
There's
much
not
has
enough
to happen.
there.
Yeah,
There's not enough meat on the bone.
I'm with you.
Plus, the new Call of Duty comes out in November, maybe. All right.
Hey,
Uh,
listen. To be fair to Kyler, he played every game last year, and
True. And that was coming
again,
off, speaking of guys with bad injuries, that was coming
right,
off a
right,
horrendous
and
injury.
again, folks, I'm not the defender of Kyler Murray. I don't think he's a winner. Yeah, we can go all day, but for him to make it through 17 games, I mean, good lord,
With the
like,
way he plays, too.
right,
All right.
and
All
not a
right.
great offensive line.
Yeah. I'm with you. Now, similar category. I'm looking over at my notes. Are we comfortable putting the Bears and the Seahawks in that category with Arizona.
Yeah, I think the days of Darnold are done. So
I think that was a nice moment. In all seriousness, I was wrong. I will raise my hand. I was wrong. He had a good year. He had a good year playing for a good coach.
Kevin
Um,
O'Connell, the quarterback whisperer, man,
right.
underrated coach, really
Yes,
underrated coach. I feel
absolutely. In a great system with great players. And look, there's nothing wrong with being a system QB. I hate
playing
that.
indoors,
Yeah,
playing
playing
indoors.
indoors.
You know,
Um,
throwing to Justin Jefferson doesn't hurt either.
or Jordan Addison when he's not messing around doing whatever he's
All
doing.
right.
Um,
Anyway, so yeah, I'm with you on that. I
okay.
don't see it.
All right. Now this is where it gets interesting. Are you okay putting the Giants in that category? I am.
I think because their division has two teams clearly better than them. Yes,
And
I,
probably three. I mean, I still think Dallas isn't
I'm
horrible.
lower on Dallas than maybe you are. I think Dallas is like a 5-win team potentially
Okay, I see
with what
them
I'm
more as
seeing.
like a 7 or an 8 win team, just because I do think there is still talent on that
Is
team.
Dak gonna play 12 games this year? Will I,
Right, that's the big thing. And we're this is weird to think about. We're on like this is Dak's 10th year, I think.
crazy.
Yeah.
There's a
Um,
world to me where the Giants finish above Dallas in the division. I think
Now
that's possible.
I'm not opposed to that.
Right.
I don't think that's a I just think it's harder to like feel confident about putting them in that category because they are only a couple of years removed from being a consistent playoff team. They do have a top receiver in the game. They do,
Right.
even without Micah Parsons, still have a serviceable defense. Um,
Who's gonna be playing from behind quite a bit. So
yeah, that's true.
you're right. You're right. They just signed Bland to a new deal. He's a turnover machine. Creates a lot of turnovers and he's scored touchdowns for them. So again, they have some individual players, but
Yeah,
the level of incompetence and I mean they have Schottenheimer coaching that team. And I think Schottenheimer might make McCarthy look like a guru. I really do.
he might
I
make him
don't
look
believe
like
in the
Curly Lambeau or something.
you ain't kidding. I don't believe in the coach. I don't believe in what I don't believe in Dak's health. I think that if you watch some of the Dallas, not to get on a tangent, I'll go real quick. The Dallas players who were interviewed, losing Parsons was like a gut punch to them beyond just him being a great player. I know that we already had the Monday morning articles about how he's a prima donna, he's a diva. Bottom line, I saw CD Lamb on TV the other day talking about they're playing Micah in week 4. And it kind of looked like somebody who was facing their high school bully coming up on like the end of like the 90s sitcom show.
Yeah,
So um, I think there's going to be a lot of anger within the players for
yeah.
not having Parsons with them. So I think that's underrated. So I'll just
Yeah,
go
I
with that.
think the Cowboys can never avoid the soap opera. I
But
think
it's
that's
worse
the
this
problem.
year. It's way worse than
It's way
years
worse.
past.
All right,
Anyway,
so maybe I think we're comfortable keeping Dallas out of the playoffs. I certainly am.
I
Um,
am. Oh,
then we get to Minnesota, San Francisco, Atlanta. Mathematically, one of those teams has to make the playoffs.
wow. That's scary to me.
Based if we've ruled out everyone who we've talked about so
Right.
far, this is why I wanted to structure the show this way. We're going to do the same in the AFC.
Well, I can tell you who it's not going to be.
Okay.
It's not going to be Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
It's not. It's not.
All right. So is it
I,
San
I'm
Francisco or is it Minnesota? Both of them have question marks, different kinds of question marks we've
So
talked
it's
about.
so funny to our viewers. They can hear Cam just completely break apart the Niners and then say they're going to be a wild card team. Because both things can be true. Both things can be true.
Right.
So
When you have seven teams make the playoffs now, you're liable to get one of
that's
them.
that 17. You get those Pittsburghs,
Yeah, I
those
was
New
just
England
about to say the
Patriots.
Steelers the last couple of
Right.
years have snuck
Somebody
in.
who's not good is going to be in the playoffs. There's going to be a 9 or 10 win team that's going to be in the playoffs. And Will, just one quick point about the Niners I didn't mention. They're going to play a weaker. They're going to play I believe, a third place schedule this year.
Yes.
A weaker schedule, which people don't understand. When you finish fourth in the division the year before, you're playing a last place
Well, that's the
schedule.
Patriots right now, which we'll get to. But
Right.
yes. Well,
So,
that
right,
although that does work against them, it works against Minnesota because they're going to play a second place schedule.
correct.
Um, it does work for the Falcons because I think the Falcons are
Yeah.
playing are they playing a third or a second?
Bottom line, they're playing a weaker schedule, but I
Yeah,
think
and
it
well, they're going to
benefits the
play.
Niners
What
more.
my point is, the Falcons are going to get 4 games against the Saints and the Panthers, whereas San Francisco's games are going to be against the Rams and um, who else is it?
Seattle,
Seattle.
Seattle.
Yeah, it's harder. I'd say so. Yeah,
I
we'll
don't
we'll
think
see.
Seattle's great, so but
Yeah, but you still got to go up
but
there and win. You still got to go
you're
to.
right. You know,
You
you
got to
can
go
pick it apart
to
all
San
day. That
Francisco.
seventh spot to me screams the 49ers.
Okay.
Just just based on what's left. And again, well, if we were dancing a little bit, you could maybe talk about Dallas there. Again, I just ripped them apart completely. But I don't believe they will. But if
Yep.
somebody out there believes that, that's a spot for them potentially.
All right.
So anyway,
Okay.
go
So
there.
for the interest of time, I think the final 6 teams, how about you give me yours, like 1 through 6? Like if you were giving me playoff teams that we haven't mentioned yet in order,
Well,
what are they looking like? Because I think
I would go. Sorry, I would
go
go
for it.
Philadelphia as the best team in the NFC. I would then go the Los Angeles Rams. We didn't talk about it all, but I
Yeah.
do like their situation. I would then go with the Green Bay Packers. I think they're a clear divisional winner there. Tampa Bay, to me, is the NFC South champion. I would then go with Detroit, taking a step back from their big win total, but they're still a playoff team to me with what they
Yep.
have. And then I would take Washington. I
Yep.
would take Washington there as well. And then the 49ers would be in that 7th spot for me personally.
Yep. So I had, and I'm gonna put it on the record. I'm just gonna put it on the record. I had Philadelphia number one. Number two, I had fire them cannons, keep firing them. Tampa Bay
Love it.
Buccaneers. Three, I had Packers.
Yeah,
Four, I had Rams. So same winners as you. I had
right.
Washington five. I think Detroit will struggle because I think they probably drop a game they're not. They're playing a first place schedule, so they're going to get the Eagles. Okay, that they're probably not going to win that game. They're going to get Tampa Bay. Maybe they win that one. They didn't last year, I don't think. And then they're going to
No, I
get
lost.
yep, and then they're going to get they'll get the I think the Rams right from the West, and
Yes.
then on top of that they'll get the Packers twice and they'll get the Vikings twice. Like it's gonna be harder for them. So I'm going Detroit six, and then it's seven. I'm gonna, for the sake of a good show, I'll put the Falcons in there.
We'll see.
But I
I
think
mean,
if we truly believe an 8 or 9 win team is gonna be a playoff team, then it makes sense to plug in the makes sense
yeah,
to plug in a team that might steal some games in a bad division. They might get 3 wins against the Panthers and Saints by themselves.
like just showing up. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
that's
don't
what
hate
we're
it.
looking at. And if Penix, maybe there's not a lot of film on him. I mean, the last left-handed quarterback I saw for the Falcons is pretty good. Um, you know, so like,
Yeah.
hey, if he maybe wins a couple games he's not supposed to, which is exactly what Jaden did last year. Again, that's why I have Washington not winning the division. Obviously, Philadelphia's a Super Bowl champion, but I think Washington was a little bit of a end of game merchant last year. I think they pulled some games out of their rear end the same way the Chiefs did last year. Um, that they some one score games they might not have won otherwise. So that's where I'm putting Atlanta there. Maybe they get that same luck. Um, let's go for the sake of time. Let's do the AFC, and then we'll do. I won't dive into a huge take on the AFC because I actually feel the same way about the AFC that I do about the NFC. Like I think it's about one division, and I think it's the East. Okay, like I think if the East is bad outside of the Bills, then that makes everyone else better. So that's my take. So I'm not going to go into a huge soliloquy about that because it's essentially the same thing I said about the
I'm
NFC
with you.
South. So with that, Cam, do we feel comfortable in the AFC putting the Cleveland Browns and the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts somewhere near the bottom?
I do, and please add the New York Jets to that group as well.
Okay.
That's to me those four. Those are the four for me that have no shot of
So
the
I
playoffs.
put the Jets at the bottom of my next group, which
Okay.
was the Raiders, the Dolphins, and the Jets.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a lot of people thinking the Dolphins are gonna make this miraculous comeback. I don't see it at all. I don't. So
I mean, I like Jalen Waddle. He's probably my favorite non-Patriot in the league. I just think he's a great player for this kind of NFL that we're living in. You know, a possession receiver, especially if you're in a PPR fantasy league, by the way. Um, but like I like Jalen Waddle. I do like their coach. I mean, he's growing on me, but hope the Patriots can beat the Dolphins this year, by the way. We'll get to the Pats in a second. But I put them in this group. I think Vegas will, I don't think they'll be a bottom feeder, but I don't think they're going to be very good. So yeah, they're in that group with the Jets to me and the Dolphins. And it sounds weird, but I actually think the Pats are going to be second in the AFC East. I
not
find
weird at all.
I,
I'm with you.
I think it could go the other way. I'm trying not to be a homer. I'm trying to be objective about it. But we're looking at the second place or the fourth place schedule that they're going to be playing, and I'm looking at some of these teams. They're going to get Tennessee, and you know Vrabel's going to want that one. They're gonna they're gonna
Opening
get
up against the Raiders at home,
yep.
it's all there for them. We'll get into that, but it's all right in front of them. More than
I,
the last few years.
yes, if they just if if Drake May just doesn't turn the ball over at the end of games, I mean, I think I think they're a team that they lost a lot of one score games last year. I think they lost two or three that I can remember at home that were one score games. They're not going to start the year playing Jacoby Brissett like they did last year.
Right.
Now, so in that group, I have that next group, all right, which to me is New England and Jacksonville.
The contenders, the fringe
The
contenders we're
fringe,
talking.
I'm not, they're going to finish second in their division, but I'm not sure they're making the playoffs, kind of teams.
Okay. I think Jacksonville is a product of probably how bad the division is versus anything else. I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm fine with that.
Okay. New England, I think, is the same way. Like, I think,
You just don't. Both those teams, both those leagues, kind of have a clear divisional winner,
yep.
so you don't know what to expect from the runner-up.
And
I'm with you.
if you believe if you truly believe that the Jets and the Dolphins are not going to be good, then the Patriots theoretically should win three of those games, or at least two of them. Like
I
if the
would like to see
Patriots
both
don't
against the
win
Jets.
two out of four against the Jets and the Dolphins, then they're going to be drafting at the top of the league again, because that
100%.
means then that because that means that they're not going to that means they're not going to they're not going to beat Tennessee. They're not going to beat Cleveland. They're not going to beat the Raiders. Like if they can't beat those teams, they're going to, and they also, they get the South. That's the thing. But the Patriots and the whole AFC East gets the NFC South as the schedule. So the Pats get the Panthers once. They get the Saints. They get the Falcons and they get Tampa Bay. So like that's what I'm saying about the AFC East. I mean, if we truly think it's going to be bad, then those two divisions are the
Yeah,
catalysts. All right,
absolutely.
now it gets interesting because the following teams made the playoffs last year: Baltimore, Kansas City, Buffalo, Houston, the Chargers, the Broncos, and the Steelers. One of those teams can't make the playoffs if you believe that Cincinnati is making the playoffs.
Which I do.
Right. So who is
Which
getting
I
out?
do.
Because Cincinnati, maybe if they had beaten New England in week one last year, speaking of New England, maybe they make the playoffs last year. But if there's eight teams right there, but there's only seven spots. And I think you have three contenders in the West. I think you have three in the North. And then I think you have the winner of the South and the East getting a spot. But again, that's eight teams. So one of them has to get kicked out. In your opinion, who is getting kicked out? Because
Well, based on that group, I'd like to swap Pittsburgh's playoff spot for Cincinnati, and that's more of me going off of the fact that Cincinnati got a lot of deserved criticism for their offseason. But bottom line, Will, they still got Trey Hendrickson back for this year. They have T. Higgins signed up and paid for the short term time. They still have Joe Burrow. There's plenty of questions. But, Will, as you said, even with all the Bengals issues last year, they were really a terrible Pats loss away from being in the playoffs. I
right,
just like to think that they're going to find a way to pull a couple of those games
And
out.
they're playing a third place schedule.
I think their offense is too good, and I think their defense will be just complementary enough to get them into the playoffs. I
Right.
think their roster is too good to miss it. I
Yeah,
really
they're
do.
gonna get right. They're gonna get the Jets. They're gonna get the Broncos. That'll be a huge game for them.
It's a big
Cincinnati
year
and
for Joey
Denver.
Burrow too. They got to get back to the playoffs.
Right.
And Zach Taylor's coaching for his job.
I
So
I think so. I'm
yeah,
with you. I think they're in. I think Pittsburgh's out. I think Pittsburgh's your eight right now. I do think that the Rodgers experience, we haven't talked about him at all. I think that will be probably a net zero versus the Russell Wilson, Justin Fields experience of last year. Um, I,
yeah,
I don't think it's a net positive or a net negative for the Steelers.
just a
Uh,
new name.
and like the Mike Tomlin teams like rarely bottom out. They're always around. So
This
I
team's got
think
a
they're
chance to
the eight.
bottom out big time.
Yeah.
This is the worst. This is the worst Pittsburgh team
But
that
I
I've.
don't think they're worse than the Pats or the Jags though. So I think they're the eight. I think they're the clear eight.
I see where you're going. I feel like at some point, just everything. I feel like Pittsburgh's kind of like you're putting band-aids on the dam,
Yes.
and the band-aids are working, and they're like, oh man, these band-aids are great, and Tomlin's the band-aid, right? And at some point, that
Well, that
band-aid just
defense.
rips, and you go 6-11, you go 7 and you go 5-12.
Yeah, they swung a big trade. I mean, they traded what, Fitzpatrick for Jalen Ramsey in the offseason?
Again, the
Yeah.
defense isn't the problem for them.
Yeah,
You
TJ
know,
Watt too. Yeah.
they got TJ,
Yeah,
they
you're
got the
right. It's
best
not their
defensive player in
defense.
the league,
It's
in TJ Watt. So
I just don't think their receivers are very good.
who's
Like I like
catching a
Pickens.
pass? Who's catching a pass for them?
Yeah.
I don't see
Pickens,
it.
I mean, that's it.
I'm out on him. Pickens is, and I thought Pickens was in Dallas now.
Oh, you know what? That's true. Didn't they?
Pickens
Yeah,
is
they
in
made
Dallas.
a
He's
trade for
gone.
him in the spring, right?
Yeah, he's gone. Pickens is gone. So
Yeah, that happened in the spring, right?
it
Yeah,
did.
jeez.
It did. So he's not even there.
Yeah, I don't even know who their receivers are. Probably
So there
nobody
you go.
good.
There you go. They got Jill. They got they don't have much.
They've
So
got Cam Case and Will Highland out there.
you I hope you're good with God. If you got me at tight end, you're in trouble.
All right. So on that note, like, I tell me what you think of this. I got Baltimore at one, Chiefs at two. We haven't even talked about the Chiefs, right? I
Don't
just
need
no
to.
point. It's just it is what it is. And they're going to be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
If you come at the Chiefs, you best not miss because I think even if they go 11-6, I don't want to play them. Um,
Of course you don't.
I got the Bills three, I got Houston four, Bengals five, Chargers six, and Denver. I think Denver. Look, Denver. I think people might be wish casting on Denver being good again because it's good for the league. When Denver's good, it's a good franchise. But like, I don't see them like finishing any. I don't think they're better than the Chargers. They're certainly not better than the Chiefs. So in that way, they're gonna probably be the seven. But I think it's still good for them. Like I think Bo Nix is solid. Now, does Bo Nix have a Mac Jones type year two? Maybe,
You
but
know, it, I
I don't think
feel,
so.
what you said about, I mean, I think we could agree on the divisional winners. There's no real dramatics there with them.
Yep.
And we both have Cincinnati in there. I think the question is you have that group of the Chargers, the Broncos, and to me, the Patriots are in that group of three guys for two spots. I think the Chargers are going to be. I'm a believer in Jim Harbaugh. I am. I think changing the culture and getting back into the playoffs and having some competence is what Harbaugh's a program builder. Everywhere he's been, he's taken bad
Yeah.
program, a la Niners. Obviously, my Michigan Wolverines bring them to the national championship. So I do believe the Chargers have their rightful spot in the playoffs. I would disagree. I'm actually going to say that we see a small step back from Bo Nix, and I have the Patriots taking that last spot.
You do. I
Step
hope
back.
that's true.
I do, and I try not to be a homer with that at all. Ask anybody, any of my friends. There has not been a bigger critic of the Patriots the last 3 years than me, in terms of what they've done and how they performed. But with the draft pick of Will Campbell, Rabel resetting the culture. I like the Diggs addition. I think it's a low risk, high reward situation. Year two for Drake May growing, a still solid defensive unit. I just feel this Patriot team has a lot. It's all in front of them, as I said before.
You're making me believe again.
There's a world where the Patriots win 10, 11 games. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I would be disappointed if they're not 9-8, 10-7. To me, anything but below that's a disappointment this year. I love
Um,
Henderson as well. I forgot to say my man Travion Henderson, who's a
yeah.
great dude. First of all, for a Buckeye, for a Buckeye, I love him. So, um, skill
Man.
player improvement. Yeah, I like the Patriots' young skill players. I love Will Campbell. I love Vrabel. There's a lot to like. The Pats defensive unit's solid. They're going to be a top 12 to 15 unit.
I'm a little bit
So
worried. I'm with you. I'm a little bit worried about like a couple things that like jumped out at me.
talk to me.
So like the Christian Gonzalez, like, is he healthy situation is a little bit scary.
Fair,
They cut
fair.
Jabril Peppers,
I was
scary.
okay with that. I was okay with that.
Right, kind of a scumbag. I'm just gonna put it out there.
He
To me.
was. He had some demons, and praying
Right.
for him.
I'm
But
just gonna put it out there. But like from a football
yeah,
perspective, I was like, okay, that was somebody who was at least like somewhat reliable as an NFL secondary player. But I do still like their defense. So I was just a little bit scared about some of those things. I think, their front seven's really good. Like I think if
yeah,
especially Christian Barmore is healthy again, I
yes.
think their front seven's really good. I think Keon White, um, Milton Williams, strong. I just I'm into
So
it.
Will,
I was also
I
a little
think the
concerned.
win. Sorry, I think the defense won't matter as it'll matter, but it's not where the big improvements coming. It's from that inept JV football offense we saw last year. My lord, was it hard to watch them on offense
Not just
last
the
year?
JV, it just felt like the whole operation was a JV operation.
It
Like
was,
there
but
would be
they couldn't
there
score
would be
against me and you a
so
corner.
there would be so many people who I would talk to who would say, Gerard on the sidelines, he looks lost.
He
And I
was.
like Mayo. I like
Me
Mayo was a
too.
great player. I loved Mayo. I was really glad when they hired Mayo. That was another thing I was wrong about. I thought he was going to be the perfect guy. All right, I
Yeah,
was wrong. I like the dude, but like he just wasn't cut out for the in-game management that came with. I think he got coached in circles a few times last year. Um, but like again, like with the other thing is like I'm a little concerned about the linebackers. I'm just gonna be honest. I do like the defensive line, but the linebackers concern me a little bit. Jawan Bentley was a great player for us for a long time, and we cut him in the offseason. And I'm not really sure what our linebacking group's going to look like. Um, so that's a little concerning. We don't have to dive too far into the Pats, but I
right.
feel I'm largely in agreement with you. I feel good about the defense. The offense should be better. I have a hard time thinking that I think they're in the same boat as the Steelers. Like I think they have some things that are going to go right for them, some things that are going to go wrong for them. But their coach is kind of much like the Steelers. The thing that they're really hoping pushes them forward because the rosters are better, but not like the Steelers were a playoff team last year. The Patriots were drafted third overall or fourth overall. So like, I think net level they're about the same heading into this year, and they play each other in
Well,
week 3. So we'll see. I
the
mean, we'll see.
argument too, Will, is we're talking about really New England versus Denver. Denver, we've touched on this, has the Chargers twice, the Chiefs
True.
twice,
True.
a Vegas team, which to me, again, we've already touched on this. Vegas to me is going to be better than Miami, or not Miami, not Miami, but they'll be better than the Jets. They'll be just as the same level as Miami, I believe, in terms of potentially win losses. That could be a cold take, but
Yeah.
I just feel that
True.
there's no days off in the AFC West.
That's true. And if New England or Pittsburgh can take advantage of their poorer schedules, because I don't think Cleveland's going to be very good, and the Steelers are going to get them twice. So
Yeah,
if if those teams can do that, um, now
Sound
Pittsburgh
the
play,
Steelers
Pitt-
not even on my radar to me. Like
Pittsburgh's getting they're gonna get the Chargers because they finished second, and they're gonna get all those teams in their division too. I mean, so it might work in the Pats' favor, as I said
yeah,
at the beginning, if they can beat up on the AFC East, because Pittsburgh, I guess, will get the um, Bengals and Ravens twice. So, yeah, I think that's overlooked when it comes
it's
to
a
the
dog
playoff
fight.
seedings.
It's
Um,
a real fight for that last spot or two.
yeah, certainly. So, in the interest of time here, we can go through, but I mean, I think we all know how each teams are going to get there. Um, I think like who's in the conference final. Like we don't need to dicker over who's going to be in the divisional round or whatever. Like
Right.
for each conference, who's in the conference final and who's in the Super Bowl.
So to me, again, depending how seedings work, the best two teams in the NFC to me are the Philadelphia Eagles and the Los Angeles Rams. I feel fairly confident with that. In the AFC for me, Kansas City Chiefs. I couldn't imagine not putting them there. And then for me, I know we're really mixing it up. The Buffalo Bills are still right there. I really Josh Allen. We talk about a guy we picked on last year. We thought Josh Allen was going to take a step back with his health in the Bills roster, and he was MVP in National Football League.
That's true.
So
That's very true. So who out of those group of four, who's going to the Super Bowl?
I'm going to say it. We're going to have a rematch. We're going to have a rematch of we're going to have a Philadelphia Kansas City rematch.
Now,
And I think I'm more confident with Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia is primed to make a very strong dynasty type of run in the next 3, 4, 5 years. And for Kansas
yeah,
City, I just have a hard time. I'm doing the Will Highland here. I have a hard time going against them. It's kind of like you can't pick against the bully till you beat the bully. These guys
right.
win on the road. They win at home. They win by field goals. They win with defense. I mean, my goodness, like
I know they
they're like
pull
the
game. Oh, pardon my language. They pull games out of their ass, and I've been saying this for like 4 years.
every way. In every way, they do it.
Yes, yes.
It's like the Patriots dynasty. I don't. I
It's
don't.
it's way more luck oriented. I'm sorry, I'll die on that hill. What we had the
Well,
tuck rule
what I
game.
mean by that is just the
You know what I mean?
winning, the way that. Yeah, I'm
It,
with you.
it feels like okay, we had Malcolm Butler, the tuck rule game, and what 28-3. Those are like the biggest pull games out of rear ends that we've ever had.
Well, the Jacksonville game too was one that was kind of like that. But anyway, I digress. But we can
Yeah,
go there.
okay. So like I'm with you on that. So they'll pull games
Anyway,
out of anywhere. So in that, I'm going Kansas City and Cincinnati in the.
wow, love
I
it,
think I think
love it.
Cincinnati will get hot late. I do. I haven't looked at their schedule, but I think they'll get hot late. I think Burrow. I think Burrow's still a big game quarterback. I think we're
Yeah,
going to get a rematch of what we got for those two back to back. I want to say
he's the one
2022.
guy who's beaten Patrick Mahomes head to head when it matters. Tom Brady and Joe Burrow when it matters have
Yep.
beaten, and it hurts. But really, I count the Eagles win as more of a team win. You
Well,
know,
also that's on a neutral field. I'm saying if
right,
you want a guy to
right.
go into Arrowhead in an AFC Championship game over the
It's
last
Joey B.
decade plus,
Yeah,
almost decade, it would be Burrow or Brady. Those are the only ones who
yeah,
have gone in there and won. Nobody else
yeah,
has gone in there and won. I think Mahomes is like 12-2 at home in the playoffs or something insane like that. So,
yeah.
um, yeah, that's where I'm going. I'm not saying they're going to win. I'll get to that in a minute. And then on the NFC side, I'm going Green Bay and Philly. Um,
Love it.
yeah, I think I'm not a huge Jordan Love guy. I actually think Jordan Love's kind of overrated, but that team is a lot better than they have been in the past. And well, they added Michael Parsons, who if he can, stay on the straight and narrow and be a team player, I think, and do less podcasting and more sacking of the quarterback, if that's even possible, considering how explosive he is. I think the Packers are on a good spot. And
Yeah,
for that, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I think it's Super Bowl 60. Okay, Super Bowl 60. We're gonna have Chiefs and Packers.
Like Super Bowl one.
like Super Bowl one.
That's right.
And I think Green Bay, just like in Super Bowl one, I think the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl.
There's a pathway for that to happen, so I don't hate it. You got to remember they actually have Matthew Golden. They drafted in the first round receiver. I like Josh Jacobs there as well. They have, so there's
Right,
this
Josh
Tucker Craft, the
Jacobs
tight end. The
run the
skill
ball a little
group's
bit.
there. Yeah, the skill group's there. The defense is there. So yeah, I don't hate that. Philly's tough. Philly's really tough, but um, yeah, I don't hate that at all.
All right. Yeah, me either. I think that would be a great game, and I think Green Bay historically over the last like decade has struggled in these big games because Aaron Rodgers has come up short or what have you. But I think the Packers are a team that feels like they're due for a Super Bowl berth.
I like it. I mean, it's a little different.
Yeah. So I'm going Packers Super Bowl. Who do you have? Chiefs or Eagles? You have in this division.
Philadelphia Eagles back-to-back Super Bowl champions.
All right.
I just,
All
I
right.
just
So
feel, I just feel with that defense, with that offense, the best offensive line of football by an extremely wide margin. You
great
don't even
offensive line.
need Barkley to be the same as last year. You don't. You have plenty of stuff there.
Yeah, agreed.
I
Agreed.
mean, you have enough. I like Devontae Smith. I like Goddard. I like what they have skill wise. Love their defense. Love their offensive line. They have a nice big leg kicker. I just Sirianni's comfortable. There was a lot of hot seat questions with him, including from myself and you, about is he going to be the head football coach there? Then he goes out and wins the Super Bowl. So it's
Yep.
all set up
Hard to
for
argue
him.
with that.
Yeah. So
All right. So in the interest of time, I'm gonna have two rapid fire questions for you. One's gonna come out of left field, but I'll start with who's your NFL MVP?
again, we were discussing this off camera. There's such a narrative based award now, particularly. Man, that's a really tough one. Obviously the names Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Mahomes, Hurts, Barkley. You can go anywhere with that. If I had to lock into one person, I'd probably lean Josh Allen again based on what I'm picking because the Bills are going to be at the top of the AFC again, and if they're that good, he's going to be throwing and running the ball to a high level. So that's what I would lock into.
Yeah, I can't you can't argue with any of these guys. I mean, if Burrow is truly playing well and gets Cincinnati to where I think they're going to go, then I'd probably go Burrow.
Yeah,
If I'm going to go that route, my
yeah,
only dark horse that nobody's talking about, and it's not unprecedented to have a quarterback of this age win the MVP award. But I think if Matt Stafford has a good year and it stays healthy and the Rams are good, people are going to look around like, even if he throws for like 4,500 yards and like 35 touchdowns, which is not like usually not MVP.
the narrative.
Yeah. But if he
Yeah,
does that at that age and that team is like remotely contending, it's going to be hard, much like with Matt Ryan in 2016, to look at him and be like, I don't think he should win the award. Like, I think 2016, there were a lot of great players in that year. Dak had a great year. Brady had a great year, but he only
yeah,
played 12 games. So, like, but it ended up being Matt Ryan. And like I think that's something that I would look at. All right,
yeah.
that's a dark horse. Second, non-football related, are the Red Sox doomed with this Roman Anthony injury, or should we be planning a World Series parade, or how do I feel? I know you're not as big of a baseball guy, but like how should I feel?
We're
I'm getting
not doomed.
stressed.
We're not doomed. You
Okay.
know, Roman's a big part of it, but again, the attitude of this ball club. I love the way they're playing. They win differently every night. Whether it's hitting for contact, they run very well. There is some pop in the bats. The bullpen is looking better. Obviously, Chapman in the back end. I really like this group. This group to me reminds me of the 13 team a little bit, not in the veteran experience part, but just in the scrappiness and how much fun they have. It's a
Yep.
fun team. It's not the most talented team ever. It's not like, the 18 team or the '07 team for me, but
Yeah,
it's a really scrappy team. So I'm not ready to get, the duck boats ready, but I think we'll see some postseason baseball in Boston again.
certainly. I think in barring a major problem, they should
It would
make the
take a lot.
postseason.
Right.
Okay, and I didn't. Okay, you've got some ball there. I knew you were a Sox fan. I knew you were a baseball guy, but not
Yeah,
you.
man.
You threw some names out
It's
there
been
for
a
me.
fun year for the Red Sox fans. Finally. Thank you,
Yes,
Lord.
yes, yeah. We've needed it. Yeah, I was just a little bit worried. The news came out today, and like I'll say this, and then I'll say this in the show. One of the things I was worried about, and let me know if you agree. I was worried that we'd be heading into Labor Day or after Labor Day with a lot of things needing to go right for the Red Sox to make the playoffs.
We discussed this. Yeah. Yeah.
Now they're in a spot where a lot of things will have to go wrong for them to miss the playoffs, and that's good. Like they should, I
Yeah.
wanted them to be in the mix for the division, which they are. Toronto's
Which
still
they are.
in, and they are. And I wanted them to be in a comfortable wild card spot, and they are. So I can't complain. Well, hopefully Roman's injury works out, and we can go back to it.
If you said this in the Devers trade that they would be comfortably in the wild card, you ask Sox fan, would you take this? You would take it every time. That's how I look at it. So
Absolutely, very true.
right.
You know what you should take everyone? You sh every time the opportunity to listen to Home Field Advantage, whether it's with Cam and me, just me and Diesel, me, Diesel and Cam, or whoever other bozos I bring into this pod to make me look even worse than I already do because they're so much smarter than me. We hope you do that. We hope you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Appreciate it. Let us know what you think. We've got the whole NFL season ahead of us. We're looking forward to it. Cam, thank you, brother.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you. We will be back to discuss it all at a later date. But until then, have a great rest of your week. This has been Home Field Advantage.